So most of my life I have not worked a normal job or a 9 to 5, whatever you want to call it. I guess I'm more of an entrepreneur. I've just been like self-employed or been my own boss. And there are a lot of positives and negatives about being an entrepreneur, like running a business or whatever. And the same is for having a normal job. There's a lot of positives and negatives. I don't like having a normal job. For me, the positives far outweigh the negatives being an entrepreneur, but it's my opinion. For different people it's going to be different. The video I'm going to be making after this one is going to be what I hate about not working a 9 to 5. It's going to be about the negative things, but in this video I'm going to be talking about the things I like, the positive things, and a lot of the reasons that I do this. So one big thing is I get to make my own hours. I get to pretty much work when I want. I get to wake up whenever I want. Like, I can sleep in if I want. Today I woke up at like, I don't know, 7 a.m. or something like that, but I didn't feel that good. I didn't get out of bed until like 10 a.m. If I don't want to, I can stay in bed until noon. I can pretty much do whatever I want. When I was younger, I was going out to nightclubs a lot until like, usually I'd stay out until like 2 a.m. because the last call was at 2 a.m. So my sleep schedule was I would go to sleep at 4 a.m. I would wake up at noon. I pretty much did this every single day. Some days I would have to get up a bit earlier to do like some sales stuff, but usually I didn't. With my last job doing the rental car thing, if somebody rented the car early in the morning, I would get up. But I used to let people rent as early as 8 a.m. I think I ended up changing that after a while to 9 a.m. and I could set that time whenever I wanted to because it was my own business. And I didn't really notice any difference in like the income I was bringing in anyway, and 9 a.m. was a lot nicer. Now I pretty much almost never have to get up early or be anywhere, since I'm just doing YouTube and like blog stuff. I can really just work on it whenever I want. Another good, like, being able to pick the days that I want to work is another great thing. So like, I had another friend who kind of works like I did, kind of did her own thing, a bit of like random days. She could sort of pick her own days. And we were living near San Francisco, or she was living in San Francisco, but San Francisco, the weather there kind of sucks, at least to go to the beach. It is rarely hot enough to go to the beach. Usually there'll be like 2 or 3 days out of the entire year when it is hot enough where you go to the beach there and it's cool. And there were like some random days during the week, like Wednesdays and Tuesdays, and I just hit her up. I'm like, hey, like, she was, one of my friends that didn't have a normal job, and we were able to just make those days to the beach because we didn't have like a boss or a normal schedule telling us where to go. One awesome thing about being an entrepreneur or about being your own boss, and obviously this can depend on kind of the business that you have as well. You might have a kind of thing where you can't do that, but for me, having that freedom is very, very important. So I like to, like, now I've just been making my jobs more and more so I can do that more and more. Like, now I don't have to have any real schedule. I gotta look at my list. I can't just do this off of the top of my head. I did have some bullet points for this. Another thing that I personally really like is the amount of money I make is basically, it depends on how hard I want to work, number one, and also just how smart I work, or how smart I set things up or build a business or whatever. That's something I like a lot. The last kind of normal job I had, the one thing I really hated was like, I just got paid this hourly wage, and it wasn't based on me being smart or problem solving really at all. It was just kind of based on me just like doing what the boss told me to do, this sort of manual labor stuff. Like, even if I worked really, really slowly or inefficiently, I still got paid the same amount of money. Which for some people, they might like that because, I don't know, maybe they'd want to just be more relaxed or whatever and just get paid the same amount. For me, I hate that. I like being paid based on like how well I problem solve and how hard I want to work. Like, if I don't want to work at all, like take the whole week off of work, I can do that. In my future, my earnings will reflect that. Like, I won't make as much money. But if I want to, I can. I can not work for 1 minute this entire week if I want to. Another good thing about the schedule thing is, like, if I get sick, like the last couple of weeks I was pretty sick. That's why I haven't uploaded a video in like over a week, I think, or a week, I think now. And I haven't made a video in like 2 weeks because I had filmed a bunch of videos and then had them scheduled out like 5 days in advance or something like that. And I got really sick the last week. I was doing some work. It was because I wanted to, though. I was on another YouTube channel, and all the work I was just doing research on my laptop. That was more because I wanted to. Is a new thing I'm learning that I'm excited about. But I didn't really have to work, and I think I was kind of sick differently the week before that too, and kind of did no work for like a few days. And I can do that because, like I was saying, I can just choose my days. I can choose when I want to work. Let's see, another thing. I made a video on this. I don't really have to pay taxes, or at least if I do have to pay taxes, I don't have to pay them until the end of the year. So I can get all that money that I would have to pay to taxes if I had a normal job. I can use that money to invest into my business, or I can use it for whatever. I can waste it on stupid things if I want to. But really the last few years I haven't really paid like any taxes, barely any taxes. The last 2 years I think I paid nothing in taxes. So that's a huge benefit of being an entrepreneur. Even people, very, very wealthy people like Elon Musk, they pay like no taxes or almost no taxes. Like Donald Trump talks about it a lot. It's all legal. It's all legal, by the way. Like you can do this. Donald Trump got in trouble for a bunch of stuff, so maybe he did some tax stuff that wasn't legal. But there are tons of legal ways that very, very wealthy people can pay no taxes, or at least very little taxes, or at least a lesser percentage of taxes than people who have normal jobs. And when you have a normal job, actually the more money you make, the higher percentage of taxes that you have to pay, which sucks. Another thing, just not having a boss. I do not like anyone telling me what to do. I really, really hate that. I don't like anyone telling me what to do. Obviously, I'm my own boss. I just, no one is telling me what to do. Like the closest thing I have to that is like if I'm doing YouTube, right, there are rules that I have to follow that are YouTube's rules. There are things that could happen, like YouTube could, falsely take down one of my videos. Some weird mistake could happen like that. So there's kind of the closest things that I have to being a boss. With my last job I had, the rental car thing, I was doing it through the company Turo, Turo. It's spelled if you haven't heard of it. And also with them, I had to follow by their rules. There are certain things that I can't do because it wasn't 100% my own rental car business. But they're very small things, and compared to having your own boss, it is completely different. They're not actually telling you do this, do that. They're just kind of certain things which you don't want to do, or certain things which you're not allowed to do. You can still do them, but you run the risk of getting kicked off the platforms or things like that. Or I guess if you have a normal job, you can still do the things that you're not supposed to do. Just you can get fired or run the risk of being fired too. But it's way different than having a boss telling you what to do all the time. Another thing is it's just a lot cooler. Like being an entrepreneur is way cooler than having a normal job. Well, I don't know. Maybe it would depend on what your job is, but I think it's a lot cooler. I think, a lot of people I tell, I'm like, yeah, I could woke up at noon today. I can do that every day if I want. They're like, oh my God, you're living like the dream. I wish I could do that. Like, I don't know, I used to grow marijuana for a living in California and sell it to the dispensaries. Like, when I told people I did that, usually people thought it was really cool. Like, it's just something cool. Well, a lot of business is boring. You could be you could own a manufacturing plant that just makes the rubber for shoe soles. That's pretty freaking boring, not that cool. But being the owner of it is cool, and having employees is cool, and being able to set your own hours and stuff like that is cool. I think that's what makes being an entrepreneur really, really cool. It's also it's something that requires, more guts. It requires that ability to have delayed gratification. It's just something that's more impressive. It's something that's a lot more rare. You meet a lot less people who are entrepreneurs than who have normal jobs, obviously, which is another reason why I just think it's a lot cooler. It's more impressive. And the number one thing, though, is that what a lot of this just comes down to is just freedom. like when you're an entrepreneur, you're your own boss, like you have 100%, you kind of have like 100% freedom. I mean, the way I think about it, like people used to die for freedom. Like people fight wars over freedom. Like the United States went to war with England. Like people literally died for this or risked their lives for this. The people that didn't die who went to war, so they could be free from England, so they could be their own bosses basically, so the country could be their own bosses. And for me, this is kind of the number one thing, or the thing that it all boils down to, is just having that freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, be your own boss, not have anyone telling you what to do. And for me, that's something worth fighting for. It's something that I'm willing to work really hard for now, or have make less money for now in the short term, so I can have that freedom in the long term, or even have that freedom in the short term. I'd rather make a lot less money now, but just have that freedom of being able to wake up whenever I want, and have my own boss, have the freedom to, live wherever I want, have all that freedom. It's worth it to me. I'd much rather make way less money and have that. One more thing I forgot is, being an entrepreneur, you have the upside potential for your future is just so much greater. Like the people who are really, really wealthy, who are like, I'm not talking about like a wealth like, a $200,000 salary a year like a doctor might have, or even like a $300,000 salary a year. I'm talking about people with like big wealth and big freedom. That's only accomplished through being like an entrepreneur, basically, through like investing, through owning your own business, through doing things like that. And that might be something that it's possible you might not never accomplish that, even if you're an entrepreneur your whole life. But the upside is, like, if you're young and you spend your whole life trying to be an entrepreneur, and you can accomplish being like a billionaire, a millionaire, or having super, super passive income to where you barely have to work. Like the upside to being an entrepreneur is huge, but you don't get that same upside potential of being an employee. Like maybe you could make like $300,000 a year, but you're still going to have to put in those hours every week. You're not going to be able to develop like massive wealth and to be able to develop like a very passive way of doing it in the future. You're not going to be able to do that. Whereas being an entrepreneur, you can basically work towards building like a system that can make your dreams happen in the future. Whereas having a normal job, you're just not going to be able to do that. But the main thing is, like I'm saying, is just the freedom and that long-term goal, the long-term dreams, the massive upside potential. For me, it's worth taking the risks in the short term.